And blessed to be a part of your day. Kevin Miller in the morning here. The Win Kevin Miller's cash code word continues. Today's word is fest. That's right, fest. Make sure you listen at 6:05 and 8:05 and this afternoon at 3:05 for the great American Sean Hannity to get the other cash code word. Remember, the more words you get, the greater your opportunities are to win big money, up to $5,000 on KIDO Talk Radio. We certainly are.
I would say happy. I think they're a little wary. China's interests in North Korea are not exactly the same as ours. They would like a more stable North Korea because, frankly, North Korea has become a pain for them. The nuclear tests there have repercussions in China. And the idea of actually, North Korea fully develop a nuclear program is not attractive to China. On the other hand, they don't want a merger of North and South Korea. They like North Korea to be a buffer between themselves and our good ally, South Korea. I think mostly they would love to see progress, but they want to be included. They have to be included in whatever direction this goes in. So I don't think they're going to try to sabotage anything. They probably think if Trump can move this in the right direction, they're going to have to come to us to support whatever the next steps are anyway. But I think they have a wary eye on it, but they're not trying to sabotage anything.
Well, as someone who studies China, does business with China, and is our China expert, do you think that could the Chinese have been pulling the strings from, on Kim and Trump? Could they? They're shrewd manipulators, as you know. Could this whole thing be their idea?
Well, I think that, anyone who, Trump has taken a different approach to North Korea. We've seen the whole situation zigging and sagging, and some people are critical of Trump and say he's being naive. And then, Kim Jong-un changes direction and somebody says it's the Chinese fault. Look, the North Koreans have been this way for 30 years. No one can figure out what they're doing. So I think in the end, it's very hard to say what's going to work, what's not going to work. I think a new approach is making sense. That doesn't mean we're over we have a touchdown here. We're not there yet. The extent to which the Chinese are manipulating, obviously there were some meetings with Xi. He's advising Kim, but the summit with Trump is still on. So I don't think they would. That's what I said. I think they're wary. I think they want to make sure they've got a foot in the door. They want to make sure when the meeting's over, Kim comes back to them and says, what do you think? Because they need to be part of the solution. But I don't think they're trying to block it. I do think they'd like to see more stability out of North Korea. They just don't want North Korea to go away, and they need to be part of the solution. And I also think we're telling them behind closed doors, listen, we want to move this forward, but we know we need you to get any sort of agreement that works because you're the big brother, frankly, to North Korea. Without you signing on, nothing's going to have any follow-through anyway. So I think we're probably behind the scenes working with the Chinese.
But the idea of a unified Korea, I think that's, we've talked about that before. Easier said than done. You've got one person in the space age, the other country in the Stone Age.
Right. It makes the unification of Germany look like a piece of cake.
Exactly.
That is a long-term goal. I don't think anybody's going to be rushing toward that, least of all Kim out of North Korea. They play with that idea, but probably some sort of next step is some agreement to disarm on the nuclear side, allow for inspections with greater economic engagement, and China kind of mediating it because they're sitting there. If this is going to move forward at all, that's the direction it's likely to go in. But some sort of broad change in the legal structure between South Korea and North Korea is, it's hard to imagine it's anything but decades away.
Has the president changed how the Chinese initiate and interact with us?
I think that, obviously Trump has, love him or hate him. There's people on both sides. He's unconventional. He has his own approach. I always say that Trump is a disruptor. And some people don't like how he disrupts. And, of course, after you disrupt things, you have to put them back in order. But he is not afraid to shake things up. So it's new for, most of our allies. And I think in China, like everybody, they're trying to figure out, for example, in the trade negotiations, how much is it, where is the guy's actual position and how much of what he's saying and doing is just part of the negotiation. So I do think they're taking a step back, trying to figure it out. The Chinese are pretty skilled negotiators themselves, so they're probably going to have their counter positions well thought out. But I don't think there's any doubt that Trump has shaken things up, and people have, like the Chinese, are stepping back and reevaluating how they handle the United States, at least during this phase, however long Trump is the one pulling the strings.
Dan Joseph joining us, ChinaLearningCurve.com. Let's talk about ZTE, and I'll go to the New York Times and get your thoughts on this. What is ZTE, and why is the president so fixated on it, and you believe it's very important?
Well, I mean, ZTE is – there's two very large telecommunications firms in China that basically make they make cell phones, but they also make the backbone networking equipment that runs telecommunication systems, and both of them are very large, ZTE and Huawei. ZTE violated some of our sanctions against Iran. They were cited for that. They actually paid a penalty close to $1 billion. But there were other aspects to their punishment that included censuring some senior executives who were involved or supposedly involved, and they didn't follow through on that. So the State Department, or the Commerce Department, followed up with additional sanctions that prevented U.S. companies from doing business with ZTE for like 6 or 7 years. Well, it turns out that much of what ZTE does, particularly in cell phones, requires U.S. companies as suppliers. So this effectively was a death sentence for ZTE. Literally, they had to shut down. So the Chinese president called President Trump and said, listen, this is pretty harsh. Can't we find some other penalty? And that's what Trump is doing. He's not relieving them of additional penalty. No. There's going to be another $1 billion fine. There's going to be further steps. But the point is the punishment has to fit the crime. Probably doesn't make sense to kill this company just because of this infraction. And when you look at the broader picture of everything we're trying to do with China, poking a finger in their eye on this one doesn't make sense. There are other places we can play tough with China. Better to let the punishment fit the crime in this case and then advance our broader agenda.
Dan Joseph joining us here. Kevin Miller in the morning, KIDO Talk Radio. So what does this mean, if anything, for the American workforce, the American jobs?
Well, this particular action relative to ZTE doesn't have a particularly direct impact. It does two things. First of all, people like Apple, Apple and GM and GE and others were probably calling Trump and saying, if we go after ZTE on this, you're making us more vulnerable in China. We might want to try a way around that. And then the other thing is, like I said, Trump's a negotiator. More than anything else, that's what you see in his style. And I think he's a pretty good one. I think he sees the advantages and disadvantages of each position. I think he just looked at this and said, this is an isolated thing, but it really stands out in their eyes because this is a large company in China. It's an important company. And we're going to essentially give them a death penalty when we could very easily, even within our own laws, simply adjust the penalty. So I think it just sometimes a goodwill gesture towards a competitor makes sense. It helps the negotiating position, and I think that's how Trump's playing it. So in the end, it will help our position with China, which I think is good if we can move towards an agreement that is good for the U.S. economy and good for American workers, which in the long run is what Trump is trying to do.
Finally, anything else we should be looking out for out of the summit in Singapore?
I think anyone who has any sense of expectations, I think probably we're going to end up with an announcement that sounds rather bland, rather vague. Who knows? Maybe we'll get something concrete. I would expect that it's something that says we've agreed broadly to talk further and that we're open to, on the one hand, denuclearization on some sort of schedule, maybe not unilaterally overnight, and on the other hand, in economic engagement. So my guess is an agreement to continue discussing those 2 points is what we get out of here. Anything more specific, I think, is a wild guess.
Well, Dan, we appreciate it. If people would love to follow your work, get more insight, information, education, what can they do?
ChinaLearningCurve.com. That's my website. That's where I blog, and you can connect me on Twitter and LinkedIn, all through there.
Well, thank you, and have fun there in the Berg, brother.
Thanks, Kevin.
Thank
Talk to you next time.
Yes, sir. What a great young man, Dan Joseph, joining us from Pittsburgh here at KIDO Talk Radio, 580 AM, 107.5 FM. Phone numbers here, 580-5436. 580-KIDO. Now, you're going to love this one. An Arizona appeals court on Thursday upheld a Phoenix anti-discrimination law that makes it illegal for businesses to refuse service to same-sex couples because of religion. Of course, this flies in the face of the recent Supreme Court decision. Here's our own Courtney Griffin with the details on KIDO Talk Radio.
The women have received 2 requests for same-sex couple wedding invitations, but have not yet responded. Arizona Appeals Court upheld a Phoenix anti-discriminatory law making it illegal for businesses to refuse service to same-sex couples because of religion. The lawsuit started in 2016 when 2 women who met at a Bible study decided to create their own calligraphy business called Brush and Nim, where they hand-make wedding invitations. As it stands right now, if the women deny same-sex marriage requests, they can be fined $2,500 per violation or face 6 months in jail. Now, they are expected to appeal within the next 30 days.
Notice the tone when a progressive ruling comes down. You notice the tone. Doesn't say it was a narrow ruling. Doesn't say it was a fixed ruling. Doesn't say it was only the state of Arizona. Notice that as compared to what happened with Jack Phillips last week with the baker. And hey, this is the Supreme Court, right? And this is why we're here, to give weight to the other side, to give the right side a chance to voice their opinions. Coming up next, unfortunately, this issue hits everyone, right, left. It doesn't discriminate on race, creed, color, political party. And how do you stop it? We'll talk about it next. I'll tell you what it is. Kevin Miller, KIDO Talk Radio. Kevin Miller in the morning here, KIDO Talk Radio. We'll go to Rob in Nampa with Kevin Miller. Good morning, Rob.
Kevin, my good brother by another mother. Usually I'm calling in as a conservative, hack job and giving liberal Steve a bad time, but I have something better going this weekend that I live for, which is jet ski racing, or jet skis. The jet ski races are going on, pro, out-of-state, huge stuff, this weekend in Middleton. And they're $10 to get in all day. And starting today is practice, and then you have the professional races going on all Saturday and Sunday. And the directions are real simple. You go down Middleton Road, and you turn at Rural Steel. You take a left, which would be heading north on Middleton Road, going towards Middleton, and Rural Steel is on your right. And the big road that you turn onto, there should be a lot of signs. I was out there yesterday, is just you take a left, which would be you'd be heading west, and you can't miss it. There's a big, huge private lake out there, and all the pro stuff's out there with the jet ski racing. So
there's a private
really
lake in Middleton.
Yeah, it's a big old huge. Joe Wright owns it, Wright Construction, and it is massive, big lake. It's not just a little pond. It is enormous. I was totally astounded how large it is. But yeah, all the out-of-state stuff. You can go to jetjams.racing.com is their actual website. It's the pro tour that goes around the whole western United States, and it's on YouTube. And I think ESPN is going to be there this weekend as well. I know Monster Energy's there, and Mike's Hard Lemonade, and a whole list of sponsors.
And yet we don't hear much about it except for you, Rob.
I know, it's crazy. I've got all the flyers I've been passing out, and got hold of the promoter. It's the purse is $10,000, so it's going to be, I wish I was racing some of my junk, but I'm too old. But yeah, the first place in one of the series is like $5,000 for first place. I mean, it's enormous. So it's going to be huge. And
is this the first time it's been in Middleton?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, used to years ago. I'm saying I'm an old dude now, but back in the days, Idaho had her own championship thing, but nothing large like this. There was all the huge out-of-state stuff with the IJSBA, which is the International Jet Ski Boating Association, sponsoring this thing, and that was way back in the early '90s, and it only lasted like 3 or 4 years. But no, this is massive, and you can bring your own food, coolers, drinks, but everything is on site. They have food trucks and stuff, so. Think about tailgate, bring the family, kids are free, and like I say, you can get pit passes are included in the $10, so you can meal around and hang out and just enjoy the day. And there's shade out there that it's all enclosed. It's a huge lake with trees all around it. I mean, it's really
you're saying impressive. You're saying a lot in 2 minutes and 35 seconds.
Well, you know me, like I said, usually I'm hammering on Obama or giving liberal Steve a bad joke, for the day. But today's. Put away the conservatism and come out and get some sun and fun and check out the chicks in bikinis and maybe drink some alcohol, and then we're going to barbecue tomorrow. So, hey, you're more welcome to come out.
Can you guarantee, quote, unquote, there'll be, quote, chicks in bikinis?
Today. Tomorrow, Idaho's weather is going to go that. But today, or I'll bring one of my 22-year-old girlfriends. She'll be in her bikini, I guess, if you want to come out and see her today. I'll look for a chick in American flag bikini.
And that's very patriotic. Now, how old are you?
I hate to say. I'm about your age, let's say. I was born in the late 60s. You'll figure out the math. And I went to school in the 80s, so you can figure that one out.
And you have a 22-year-old girlfriend.
Oh, yeah.
This is what we love, full disclosure here. We don't judge, full
That's my
disclosure.
sweetheart.
Rob, thank you very much. We appreciate the break from politics this morning.
Absolutely. All right, brother. Hey, take care, and hope to see you out there.
Yes, sir. Take care. Bye-bye.
Thanks so much. Take care. Bye.
KIDO Talk Radio, Kevin Miller in the morning, the publisher of the Gem State Patriot. So we have Rob, who's very similar to my age, late 40s, 50s, and he's got a 22-year-old girlfriend. With us now for reaction and commentary, the sweet prince of the Treasure Valley, Tea Party Bob.
I'm not sure how to answer that one.
Now, come on, I can't let you off the hook on that.
I don't know, Kevin. That's kind of not in my bailiwick. I'm not into 22-year-olds, that's for sure.
Well, no, but this is what separates this show apart. We, full disclosure here, full transparency.
I got a son who's 44 going out with a 23-year-old, so I guess there's no problem with it.
So you're saying men, I guess that would be the young ladies in their 20s are the emotional equivalent to men in their late 40s, early 50s.
I guess you could say that, and that might be the case.
Well,
I don't go out with enough women that are 22 to tell you that for a fact.
Well,
so you'd have to check with others.
I see. Well, for you, what would that be?
For me, in terms of women that I would go out with,
yeah,
I don't know. They'd have to be close to my age. I'm kind of a Renaissance man. I'm not part and parcel of a lot of the stuff that goes on nowadays. I mean, this hooking up and all this other garbage that goes on.
You would not be interested in hooking up.
It's not part of my life.
Exactly.
But evidently it is part of everybody else. Look, socially, we've changed dramatically. I was kind of thinking about your talk about Mr. Rogers. He was someone who helped bring people together and taught us to love our neighbors. Today,
I don't think you'd see Mr. Rogers with a 22-year-old in an American flag bikini. But
no,
Rob, who's listening, not that there's anything wrong with that.
Today, it's funny. Today, we seldom see our neighbors, and we erect these 6-foot fences between our homes. As you know, I used to put those up to make sure we never have to look at them. If we spent as much time and money getting to know our neighbors as we do erecting the fences, we probably would have a better world to live in and a lot less polarization. Maybe you'd get to know the 22-year-old girl that lives next door if you didn't have that fence there,
No, you're struggling. Hold that thought for a minute. Traffic and weather together. Our time is 8:27. Let's get you to work safely and on time. Good morning, Dave. Back to you, Tea Party Bob.
Even finding some, 50-somethings and 60-somethings that can keep up, because many of them just, they're not in shape.
Now, wait a minute. You were saying you would a 40 or 50-year-old can't keep up with you because of your lifestyle?
No, I'm talking about a 50 or 60-year-old. I didn't say 40-year-old. I'm not back into marathon running anymore. But
well, that's good to know that a 50-year-old couldn't keep up with you.
I think some of them would have a hard time. You can't keep up with me, and you're 50 years old.
Yeah, well, I'm not your target audience unless things have changed. Unless things have changed that I don't really know about. So
thank goodness for that. No, yeah, I love you as a brother, my friend, but you wouldn't make a good girlfriend, that's for sure.
That's reassuring.
But I'm trying to get you to be a walking partner so you can get out there and exercise a little bit.
So you wouldn't want me for your girlfriend, but you want me for your partner. I don't know where you're going here.
It's kind of funny when you start looking around and seeing the people that are out there that are available. It's difficult to find somebody not only that agrees with your views because you're of the conservative persuasion, and when you live in an area that's kind of surrounded with Boise people, that can be difficult to find.
You mean the libs?
Well, yeah. I mean, look, you know me. I'm very conservative libertarian, and I don't cotton to any of this liberal thinking. So it makes it a little difficult. It's not the easiest thing in the world, but hey, we all live on. just kind of like you. You know what I mean? You're trying to get yourself back in shape over time. I fortunately got there in 2.5 years. Now I've got to find somebody that can keep up with me. That's what I'm going to do.
You're giving a shout out, huh?
Oh boy, yeah.
Maybe you could meet. Maybe you could meet somebody on this program, and we could all go out on your first date or something like that. Who needs?
Oh, there we go. Yeah, sure. Let's make a public message out of this.
Well, you've kind of revealed this. I didn't, but I like this Treasure Valley Bachelor, the Tea Party Bob edition.
Well, I've never been a bachelor very long when you think about it. It's not, that's something I enjoy very much. I like to have company. I like to have people around that think the same way, or at least can generate some good conversation. But it's not always that easy to find people. And in today's world, it becomes even more difficult. You got Facebook and you got all these Twitter accounts and all this other garbage. And it doesn't really ever tell you anything about somebody. You want to find something out about somebody, you actually have to sit down and talk to them and meet them.
Well, you've given us a lot of thought. News is next, so.
Well, good. I'm glad you're going to have something good on instead of me.
Some content
you
instead
set me
of
totally off track of what I was going to say, so I'll save it for tomorrow.
All right, thank you, Tea Party Bob.
Have a great day, my friend.
All right, our great friend Tea Party Bob. You're listening to Kevin Miller on 580 AM, 107.5 FM, KIDO Talk Radio. Good morning, Dave. Out to Hollywood, California. Michelle Polino joins us now, Fox News Radio on KIDO Talk Radio. Good morning, Michelle.
Good morning.
Now, we could talk about Samantha Bee and Kim Kardashian and all that stuff. Or we could talk about what's next for summer movies.
This is a very good year, actually. Well, let me just say what Kim Kardashian did was pretty awesome. I thought, she used her celebrity for something really good and something that the president did was something that's really good. And these are positive things that not a lot of people are talking about. So I find that to be really inspiring, actually. And I'm not a big Kardashian fan. So I wanted to just give a shout-out. Now, this weekend, Ocean's 8 is definitely the film to see. But we have two really big films opening up. And when I say really big, I think Hereditary will also be really big because it is just a scary, scary horror film. And horror films, this particular genre, they have a way of impacting the box office that boggles the mind. So look out for that. But already Ocean's 8 is making a splash. I had to, I'm sorry. At the box office. And, of course, that is the female reboot of Ocean's 11, starring Sandra Bullock, Cate Blanchett, Anne Hathaway, Mindy Kaling, Rihanna, and more. And word is, it's really good. Really good.
All right. Now, I've got some issues with you.
Oh, okay.
Or Marvel, by the way. I mean, Ant-Man and Wasp coming out, Avengers, Black Panther. Are they ever going to jump the shark with all these superhero movies? Yeah. And as we always say, poor DC can't get anything right, but, Marvel continues to churn this out. Is there any concern that there might be too much, as we saw with Solo?
Yeah, well, I don't think Solo was I think Solo came out on the heels of Deadpool 2, and Deadpool 2 is really just the best movie of the summer, just hands down. And I think that Solo just didn't quite have the oomph that Ryan Reynolds can. Ryan Reynolds may be one of those stars. Well, let me put it this way. Ryan Reynolds in that character.
Well, I was going to say, because I had two words for you, Michelle. Green Lantern.
I know. Listen, this is Green Lantern's revenge.
And in the first Deadpool, he does make reference to it. It is a unique role for him. But you're saying Deadpool 2, an adult film, better than Avengers, better than, well, I guess Black Panther's not the summer movie, but better than anything else we're going to see, you think?
Well, I think Avengers stands in its own category. Infinity War is really something incredible. There's many layers to it, and I think that I don't think that can be really compared to anything else. I mean, wouldn't you agree? I mean, seriously, just look at its box office. It has every Marvel character, and sadly, but we won't get into that because some people might not have seen it. I think Deadpool 2 is I just think it's a real great adult film, and then we have Solo that came out on the heels of that, and I think following Black Panther, Avengers, and Deadpool 2, I think there was some kind of like, I don't know. I actually think the build-up of those three wasn't a build-up to a Star Wars film. However, I think with Ant-Man and Wasp coming out, the first weekend of July 4th weekend, you're going to find that a lot of people go see that. And here's the reason. The last really superhero movie they went to was Deadpool 2. It was R-rated, it was adult, couldn't take the kids. Took the kids maybe to Star Wars, maybe not. Solo. Ant-Man is a real family film, and it's the first time we see a relationship between a superhero and his kid. Paul Rudd playing a dad, his character. This is something special for families, and I think that's why it's still going to make a lot of money.
Michelle, I'll get you out on this one. Remembering Anthony Bourdain.
Oh, I'm heartbroken over this. Heartbroken. The way that when I first heard the news, I thought it was a heart attack because I used to love watching this guy eat and drink like nobody's business and smoke cigarettes. I was like, he just does it. I'm like, I wonder what. And when I first heard the news, I thought for sure that. And then when I come to hear it's suicide, days after fashion designer Kate Spade, I'm devastated, and there's definitely a sadness in the food world. He had so many television. I loved Parts Unknown. Nobody's ever going to have that kind of impact on television and the food world all at once. They've tried. Nobody can be like Anthony Bourdain.
And you wonder, again, found dead today at the age of 61, at the height of his powers. It was fascinating. Not a foodie, but I admired how he would go into a place like Iran and, where we wouldn't get, haven't gotten along, but he would meet people and discuss food. And we always look at sports and entertainment as unifiers. And, this is a guy that understood that food was a unifier as well.
You're right. He was to the food world an athletic superstar. It's a great analogy. He found the true connector in places like Iran and China and parts of the Middle East. The true connector was food and sitting down at a table and enjoying different cultures and what they have to offer. It truly. I can't even think of anyone else that would be able to fill that now void in connecting our cultures as he did.
Michelle Polino, Sylvester Stallone would still be proud of you with your Philadelphia roots. We always appreciate you.
Thank you. Have a great weekend. Go see Ocean's 8.
Roger that. See you later. Our great friend Michelle Polino, Kevin Miller in the morning here at KIDO Talk Radio. And then, cover story from the Washington Post. Suicide rates rose in all but one state between 1999 and 2016, with increases seen across age, gender, race, and ethnicity, according to a report released by the Center for Disease Control and Prevention, in more than half of all deaths in 27 states, the individuals had no known mental health conditions when they took their own life. In North Dakota, the rate jumped more than 57% in the most recent studies, 2014 to 2016. The rate was highest in Montana, with almost 30% at 29.2%. Idaho's rate increased to 43.2% in the period studied. Only the state of Nevada saw a 1% decline. And then we have what we woke up to this morning, the death of Anthony Bourdain, the celebrity chef, the Peabody Award winner, the person that made food and culture so easy, took his own life in Paris today at the age of 61.
Chef Anthony Bourdain, the host of CNN's Anthony Bourdain Parts Unknown, has died. CNN confirms his death by suicide. Bourdain was in France working on an upcoming episode of his series when he was found unresponsive in his hotel room by a close friend. In addition to his talents in the kitchen, he was also a best-selling author and had won 2 Emmy Awards for his cooking and travel shows. Season 11 of Parts Unknown had just premiered on CNN last month. Anthony Bourdain was 61. Tanya J. Powers, Fox News.
And you didn't have to be a fan of the CNN show. You could watch him on YouTube. He had a way of just being openly transparent and authentic.
Some of the most rewarding experiences I've had overseas have been in places that are very different than the world I grew up in. And I enjoy going to places in America, in my own country, with the same attitude.
Our main course arrives as the temperature drops. Moose shoulder and ribs, neck braised in red wine, wild mushrooms, and grilled Scotch lovage for the essential vegetable component, and roast chestnuts, bacon, and pearl onions.
One of the more exotic ones is he was on the South Pole. They rerun those things all the time on CNN, and there you have people eating and getting together on the South Pole, and truly someone that will be missed. But the broader question here, at 580-5436, 580-KIDO, is this issue of suicide. And again, according to this report, rising 43.2% here in the state of Idaho. And now we have the Idaho Suicide Prevention Hotline, which took years to get. And yet this is something that touches all of us, whether Republicans, Democrats, liberals, or conservative, right? And now what is the answer to this? Obviously, to get the word out, but if you don't have mental illness, if you don't have this, you have to go back to loving yourself, right?
I was a happy dishwasher. I jokingly say that I learned every important lesson, all the most important lessons of my life as a dishwasher.
Probably should have put that in one of his best sellers.
How did I get from, dunking breaded clams in hot grease to where I am today?
Anthony Bourdain, again, dead at the age of 61. But between now and Glenn Beck, I do want to get your thoughts on that. At 580-5436, maybe you're a survivor, maybe you know someone, maybe you'd like to save a life. Wouldn't we all? Kevin Miller, KIDO Talk Radio. Appreciate that, Ray Ohio. We continue on.
Yeah, I think it's very sad. In fact, I want to extend to his family my heartfelt condolences. That was very shocking when I woke up this morning. Anthony Bourdain is dead. And I enjoyed his show. He was quite a character, I will say. But so I just want to extend my condolences, and also to the family of Kate Spade.
There you have it, the president on the 2 high-level celebrity suicides, which is what we're talking about right now. Two Fly Bride, good morning. You're on KIDO Talk Radio.
How you doing, sir?
And you?
I am doing okay for the most part. Yeah, you mentioned the Idaho Suicide Prevention Hotline. I have an extended family member who does volunteer work there, and they can't talk about what goes on or what doesn't go on, whatever. But they've actually been helpful in other extended families' lives without them necessarily having to call. Other extended family members have thought to just not live anymore, and we just talk to them and let them know that they're loved. And we watch for the signs that we can about, hey, how come you're not coming over for dinner? How come you're not, how's work going? And how's, we actually don't. We actually decide not to say, hey, how's the weather kind of thing. We say, hey, let's go out, let's just go out and let's go fishing or something. Show you what life is sweet and about. Pretty sad, the statistics, Idaho up 43%. I'd like to certainly see that. Certainly our population has also increased, and I'd like to see some correlation there as to, if we had the same amount of population from way back when, what would that true percentage be? I think that would be a better indicator. But still, anything above 0% is not good. So definitely, if you've got challenges in your life, get a hold of family, get a hold of friends, call the police if you need to, call the helpline. That's what they're there for. And I just hope that there's someone listening here even now that you're loved, man. You're loved. And that's what the message needs to be.
Thank you, Two Fly Bry.
You're welcome. Talk to you later.
All right, bye-bye. Traffic and weather together. Kevin Miller in the morning. Our time is 8:54. Good morning, Dave.
Good morning, Kevin. KIDO Talk Radio traffic. On the freeway, we're looking good. Downtown Boise, an accident working at State and 17th. When people open the Canyon County phone book, they're ready to buy. If your ad isn't there, odds are they'll do business with your competitor. Call Impact Directories and keep your phones ringing all year long. That's your Impact Directory traffic update. I'm Dave Burnett on KIDO Talk Radio.
Thank you, Dave. KIDO Talk Radio weather from the Channel 7 First Alert Weather Center. Good morning, Larry.
Good morning, Kevin. All right, be ready for the fact that we've got some changes. We're going to go from 88 today down to 64 on Sunday and back into the middle 80s by the middle of next week. I'm just Channel 7's Larry Gebhardt.
Tess, good morning. You're on KIDO Talk Radio with Kevin Miller. Hello, Tess.
Hi, good morning. Hey, I just wanted to say something about one of your callers calling in and using the word white trash against another person. And, here's something I just want to speak to is that, when you call people names and you say what a lot of these people are saying, it's a passive way to speak death to people. It really is. And so at the end of the day, when you go home, shouldn't you be thinking about, well, were you the good part of that person's day? Or were you the really bad part of that person's day?
Well, you go back to what we were talking about earlier, the legacy of Fred Rogers.
Mm-hmm. Right. Speaking life to people. You don't speak death to the terminally ill or the harmed or, or the timid. So, and my gosh, how big a radio station do you have? You can be heard clear down into Utah. So, hey, let's speak life to people,
Well, that would be the message of the day, especially with the suicide rates.
Yeah. Okay, well, thanks for letting me say my piece.
God bless you, Tess. A tip of the hat to you.
Yeah.
580-5436, 580-KIDO. Kevin Miller in the morning here, and if you're worried about someone, worried about yourself, the Idaho Suicide Prevention Hotline is 800-273-8255, or you can text in all caps hello to 208-398-4357. Also, for more information, suicidepreventionlifeline.org. And here you have Anthony Bourdain, Kate Spade, and others just giving up. And I really enjoy Glenn Beck and the realness that he offers. And I know that those of you that have listened for years to Glenn Beck, sometimes he's a little emotional, sometimes too emotional. But I would say this, when he reveals the struggles that he's had, many of us can relate to that. And, what is the cure to suicide? Maybe it goes back to Fred Rogers. Maybe it goes back to unconditional love. And instead of disengaging, that we engage. Instead of trying to solve things by ourselves, what do? We go to church. We engage with folks. We make an effort. We have empathy and humility. And those aren't buzzwords to you that listen here at KIDO Talk Radio. Just remember what this man did who made a difference.
The new documentary about Mr. Rogers is appropriately named for the question he's best known for asking.
Won't you be my neighbor? It's an invitation to help somebody know that they're loved and capable of loving.
At the heart of Won't You Be My Neighbor is the life and guiding philosophy of Fred Rogers, the host and creator of Mr. Rogers' Neighborhood, who passed away in 2003. The show ran from 1968 until 2001, leaving behind more than 1,700 episodes. Tanya J. Powers, Fox News.
That's the point, right? Fred Rogers taught us about unconditional love, a lesson that we all need today, and God's love. That's right, God's love. God loves you, God created you, and God wants you to be here with us, and we want you to be here with us, right? You're in my thoughts and prayers. May God bless you and your family. Rehemiah, outstanding week as always. Great job today. May God bless you and keep the faith. Glenn Beck is next, everyone.